In this video, we're going to be thinking about navigating organisational dynamics. Now, the reason we're having a very high-level look at this topic is so that we can then put into context some of the other skill areas that we're going to look at in a much deeper way in the other videos. And in particular, we're going to be talking about how you access power, how you exercise influence, how you navigate politics, and how you build networks. Now, these are the key building blocks of organisational dynamics. Now, why is it important that we think about these building blocks at this stage of your career? As you become more senior, how you are perceived in an organisation and how your progression is supported becomes less about what you do as an individual and more about how you engage with others and navigate the organisational dynamics of the place that you're working. As you step into a bigger role, what we're actually thinking about is a shift in mindset away from being a technical expert and actually working harder to achieve things, to something that's much more subtle but much more important, which is how do you think about engaging those around you, understanding the political landscape you're working in, and building alliances that will enable you to achieve the goals that you want to achieve. Now, why are organisational dynamics so important? Well, organisations, although they appear to be very structured and process-driven, are actually at their very heart human systems. And human systems are made up of human beings who are inherently messy, irrational, and political. Now, every time we think about organisations or any other form of human system, and it can be your family, it can be your friendship group, it can be university, we're always looking at the building blocks of how these systems work together. And we actually do it quite unconsciously. And that works perfectly well in our families and our friendship groups because we kind of know the rules we're playing to. But when we come into organisations, it becomes much more important to be explicitly interested in how the dynamics work and how you can harness those dynamics to help you become a more effective leader. Now, most people who think about organisational dynamics come up against politics, networking, and power. And that triggers an allergic reaction because people inherently think, well, if I'm thinking about politics, I don't do politics. Politics is about being self-interested, it's about pursuing my own agenda, and it's about being Machiavellian. That's not true. Some people may behave in that way, but every system has its politics, and if you refuse to engage in them, it's not that you're not part of the political system, it's that you're allowing others to make decisions for you which affect you without your input or influence. So just to briefly think about how we engage with organisational dynamics, I just want to take a step back and give you a flavour of the 4 key building blocks that we're going to explore. The first building block we need to think about is sources of power. And the reason power is important is actually you have more power than you think you do. When we talk about power, people tend to equate that with a title or the ability to reward or promote others. In fact, sources of power come from both your role, your position within an organisation, but also your personal attributes as well. And so we're going to come on and talk about that. Why power is important is because even if you have many sources of power, if you don't actually come on and use them properly, then actually you're wasting them and actually you're hindering the progression of your career. The next building block that we need to think about is how do we harness power in a way that's effective, but also doesn't make us feel uncomfortable. And the primary way we harness power is actually by building influence. So we're going to talk about influence, and influence is the way that we can get people to align with our objectives, or we can persuade them to work towards our goal in a way that will help us achieve what we're looking to achieve. The third building block, and one that I think people struggle with most, is navigating politics. And the reason people find politics difficult to navigate is 1, the rules tend to be unspoken, and 2, people feel slightly dirty admitting that they are engaging in politics. Politics is not dirty, it's how you engage with it and what you do as you navigate the system that will determine whether you navigate politics in a healthy or an unhealthy way. The fourth building block we need to think about when we're considering organisational dynamics is networking and building networks. Now, people find networking as a concept uncomfortable because they seem to think that it's about being inauthentic and self-promoting. It's neither of those things. Building networks is actually about developing relationships that are mutually beneficial and that will actually work for both you and other people over the course of your career to help you achieve your goals. When we think about organisational dynamics, those 4 building blocks are essential skills that you need to develop as you shift your mindset away from technical excellence to becoming an effective leader who can navigate the organisational system. So as you come away from this video, and this introduction to the building blocks of organisational dynamics, what I'd like you to do is just take a moment to think about what sources of power do I have? Do I exercise influence in a conscious or perhaps just an implicit way? How do I really feel about politics? And it's okay to think that it's dirty, because we're going to come on to talk about why it's not. And finally, how much attention do I give to my network, not just looking back at the people I know, but looking forward at the people I'm going to need to engage with as I progress in my career?